Okay, session 5 of the SubTractor synthesizer in Reason Essentials. We've been looking at the filters. Just going to talk a bit about the filter envelope now, but before we do that, I'm just going to, or in order that we can do that, I'm just going to introduce or depart from what we've been looking at up to now, which is a pure sine wave signal. I'm going to change, we're going to stick with oscillator 1 and leave oscillator 2 out, but I've moved the mode, this is the phase mode, and I'm not going to go too much detail on this because I'll do that in detail in another session, but I've changed that to subtraction, and what that's doing now is oscillator 2 is producing two identical signals, and then we're going to shift them out of phase. Don't worry about what that means for now. We'll come on and talk about that in a future session, perhaps the next session. And we're going to change that from a smooth sine wave to something with a bit more. Let's try a square wave. Let me just try that sound. Okay, that's good sound for what we want to demonstrate. Now, if you listen to that sound now, it sounds harsher, if you like, or more metallic maybe. It would be a way of describing it. But essentially what you've got is you've got the bass, the fundamental note, and then you've got other things going on. You've got what are called harmonics or overtones. So you've got the fundamental frequency of the note, and then you've got other frequencies which creep into the sound. If we take the resonance up and we allow those to resonate, that will accentuate it, and you'll hear there's a lot of other higher frequencies and in fact some lower frequencies going on in there. Now if I take that right up there and put them sort of fully out of phase, so the two identical square waves, we start to get quite a harsh sound with a lot of overtones and harmonics that we don't want in there. So this is what the filter was initially developed for, to be able to filter those harmonics out. Now what I'm going to do is sweep down with this filter. We've got it set to a low pass filter, so it's only letting frequencies below a certain value through, and the nature of interference and harmonics is as you get higher in frequency, you get closer and closer together, so you get more and more of them, and they start to sound quite harsh. So if we take this frequency and bring it down, let's just switch filter 2 off. It's not actually doing anything because it's a low pass and it's set to high frequency, but we might as well switch it off. So as we take this frequency down, what we will do is filter out more and more of those additional frequencies, the higher frequencies. So we're filtering it back down to its lower frequencies, or lower frequency harmonics. So if we play the note and then sweep that down, you can hear those higher. There's a bit of a wolf note there where it's resonating really loudly. We'll look on as to why those constructive and destructive interference patterns happen in a future session. But as the filter comes down, we're losing those high-end, harsher frequencies. If we put it back up, we're bringing them back in. Okay, so you can see then that the filter is something which we can take out those harsher, higher end frequencies, or if we put it through a high pass filter, if we set filter 1 to a high pass filter now, we can only hear those higher frequencies. as we bring that down, we bring in the lower frequencies but keep the higher ones there, except that we're resonating. So let's take the resonance out. So we're adding in the lower harmonics there, reducing the lower harmonics and just having the high end harmonics on the note. So that's really what we use a filter for taking out certain bits of the sound that we don't want, not for reducing the whole sound. We were only looking at that in the previous session with the sine wave, just to demonstrate what they did, what the filter components do. But when you come to making music, it's about changing the sound of something that's got harmonics in it. So we need a way of controlling how that filtering is brought in over time, over the duration of the note, and this is where the filter envelope comes in. The filter envelope is very much the same as the amplitude envelope that we looked at in the previous session. If I bring the decay and the sustain up to high levels, then that filter goes immediately to its, sorry, let's put a low pass filter in there. If I take this filter frequency down now, we want to change how that is brought in. So if we change or increase the amount at which this envelope affects that filter frequency and take it up to full, so this filter envelope is now controlling how this filter comes into play. So now if we take this filter frequency right down now, we notice that it doesn't have any change now. And the reason that it doesn't change that anymore is because this filter envelope is saying we've got an instantaneous attack. So as soon as we press the key, we want to attack to full to the full values, and what that does is it takes wherever this is set, it immediately takes it up to fully open to allow everything through. So we're not filtering anything because we've set this envelope to say take the filter to fully open immediately. If we then move this attack up and have this filter set somewhere in the mid-range, you'll now hear that there's a delay. It filters initially, and then if you can hear that, it rises to being fully open and then letting everything pass. So it's filtered first, and then it rises up to this level here. And if we put that up higher, now if we take this up higher, we can now control. We now introduce a longer wait. So when we press the key, the filters kicks in first, and then over time it disappears. Or what happens is that this is then moved to fully open. So let me switch this filter envelope off again by turning the amount knob right down. So we're starting there, and then as the attack comes in, it opens it up. So what we're doing is we're starting there and opening up. But the filter envelope allows us to control that using the attack amount here. So it starts off and then opens up. Okay, so that's what's going on with the filter envelope attack. In the next session, we'll look at the other parameters in the filter envelope, and then talk about inverting them as well, which is a useful thing to have. Thank you for listening. See you next time.